Aye. First appointment is document 23213, the appointment to the Airport Commission of Mr. Vinicio Fromenta. Is Mr. Fromenta here?
Madam Chair, I know this item failed on our last meeting, and I know we have to act on this within 30 days, or he'll be appointed by default. So I'd like to send it out to the full council without a favor recommendation.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next appointment is document 23313, the appointment to the Airport Commission of Mr. Jeffrey Fulgione. Fulgione, thank you. Thank you for coming, Mr. Fulgione. If your name and address for the record, please.
It's Jeffrey M. Fulgione at 561 Salem Street in North Andover, Mass.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions for Mr. Fulgione?
Just a moment here.
Mr. Junior, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Roger.
Good evening, Mr. Fulgione. Thank you for applying for the position. I have your application in front of me, but for some reason or other, it looks like it's blurred, so
That's fine. Yeah.
if I don't pick up the right thing, would you tell me about it? Now, I understand it, he worked for the Mass Highway Department, is that correct?
I'm retired from there.
For 16 years?
Yes, I had worked there for 16 years as Deputy Director of Environmental Services and retired in 2009.
Okay. And I noticed on the second part of the application, it says construction industry for 13 years. Does that apply to you at all?
Construction industry, well, Mass Highway, consider it
That would be
DPW
it,
and
huh?
construction. I
Okay.
thought that I'd couple that as well. So we did obviously roads and bridges, but also did environmental compliance as well.
Great.
So I was responsible for $8.5 million in environmental consulting contracts, but also get involved with construction contracts as well.
Now, I noticed it says here you were a consultant. What's that for?
Yeah, well, when I retired in 2009, for the past 3 years, I was doing some consulting.
Did you do some consulting work for the city?
Yes, I did.
Did you do any, what do they call
I
it?
did the energy conservation for City Hall and for the main library through the
okay.
Department of Energy through a block grant.
Okay. So you've written grants before. I think I spoke to you once before. I was looking for a grant for
Think
the
so,
fire
yes.
department.
Sure. Yeah, so I have some pretty good experience with grants as well as management.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Council President Moran?
Councilor Toomey pretty much asked the question that I was going to ask. Madam Chair, I'd like to send it out to the full council with a favor recommendation.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Fulgione, if you can please be here tomorrow for our 7 o'clock meeting, where we're going to have all the people who were appointed to the commissions come before the full council.
Okay, I'll do the best I can on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Just make sure you be here tomorrow. We call a special meeting just for that.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is docket number 23513, the appointment to the Airport Commission of Mr. Giovanni Bonet. Mr. Bonet here? He is not. we have a motion?
Again, this was an item that was denied at the subcommittee level, so I'd like to make a motion to send it up to the full council without a recommendation.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next document is document 23813, appointment to the Lawrence Housing Authority of Mr. Stephen Kafori. Mr. Kafori?
Evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here this evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Stephen P. Kafori, 37 Jefferson Street.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Kafori?
Thank you for applying, Mr. Kafori.
My
I know you were
pleasure.
here in our last meeting, and you were very eager to talk to us. For some reason, you didn't get a chance, and I want to apologize on behalf of the committee.
No need, Council. I'm happy to be here.
Not a problem.
Thank you for being back tonight, this evening. Counselor Toomey, do you have any questions for Mr. Kafori or comments?
Good evening, Mr. Kafori. How are you?
Evening, Councilor.
I do have a question under experience. For some reason or other, again, too, the printing came out very, very poorly here, and I can't quite read it.
Okay.
It says you served as a mediator for landlord and tenants cases. Is that correct?
Yes, I was certified by the Attorney General's office. I mediated cases over Community Teamwork, Inc. in Lowell for a number of years.
Okay.
I don't do that. I haven't done it in a long time, but I did. A lot of the cases were consumer-related, landlord and tenant were most of them.
Okay, now, being a mediator, is that something that you had to go to school to learn, or?
No, we had to go to training for it. It was like, I believe it was 30 hours of training.
Okay, the reason I ask that is that currently we have an ordinance in place in the city of Lawrence where if people are to be kicked out of their homes, one of the things that they have to do is to go before have a mediator work between them and the bank. Is this something that you would get involved with ordinarily? I'm not saying you're going to do it. but I'm
Sometimes
just-
would happen when I dealt with it over there in Lowell, the courts would encourage people, or the magistrate, whatever, to try and resolve the issues without going, proceeding to court, because they were clogging the court system with these cases, so, and then the cost would be minimal to go before a mediator and hopefully resolve the issue. And so, many people would agree to do that. And, you know, the success rate for the program was, at least when I was there, was in the 80 percentile, you know, between 80 and 85% of the cases that were resolved. So it saved the court clogging and also resolved an issue that was between whatever, tenant and landlords or two parties. It was a very effective, and it was a volunteer program.
Volunteer on your part?
Yes,
Oh, really?
enjoyed it very much.
Well, maybe we'll use you here in Lawrence.
Why not?
I can't quite make out number 2 you have down here, under indicate your most important experience and abilities which qualify you for the appointment. That was number 1. I can't make out the second one. I can't even read it.
Familiarity.
I apologize.
It's
I
not-
should have
it's-
become a doctor. The handwriting's not that.
No, it's
that
not
good.
you. It's the way it was printed. It wasn't very,
Was that this familiarity with state housing regulations?
yeah, okay, that's what that is, yeah.
Yes.
And Director of State,
Yeah, I oversee the regulatory division for the state of Massachusetts.
okay.
So familiar with 760 CMR, which is the housing agency for the Commonwealth of Mass, and the regulations that oversees a lot of the state assisted housing programs. Used to be called the old Chapter 706, I believe. And any other, like, Attorney General's regulations, anything pertaining of the public health regulations, sanitary housing regulations, things of that nature. I'm familiar with those.
I'm not going to go through this all because it's, to me, it's perfectly legitimate, and not legitimate, but perfectly great. I'm all set.
All set? Counselor Moran?
Yeah, I'd like to send that up to the full council with a favor recommendation, and Mr. Kufori has been around forever. He was a city council president, he was the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. He has all the qualification we can actually ask for this particular position. So,
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Please be here tomorrow.
Thank you, councilors.
For
Appreciate
tomorrow's
it.
appointment. You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is docket number 23913, the appointment to the Lawrence Housing Authority of Miss Lydia Bonilla. Hi, Lydia. Thank you for being here today. If you can please say your name and address for the record, please.
Lydia Bonilla, 57 Marble Ave.
And I'll open up to the committee for any questions. Roger?
I'm just
Sorry
looking
about my
at the good
application, I didn't put too much
Good
on
evening,
it.
Lydia.
You can ask me what you want to ask me.
Pardon me?
That I didn't put too much on the application, but you can ask me
I will.
anything you want to ask me.
For instance, you have printed in here, Northern Essex Community College, nursing, LPN. Did you
Correct.
graduate from
Yes,
there
I
with an
did.
LPN license? Okay. Because sometimes people write it in, sometimes they print it in. In high school, what high school did you go to?
I graduated with a GED. I didn't go to...
GED?
Yes, GED.
From Lawrence or from?
No, New York.
New York.
I'm originally from New York.
And you lived in public housing in New York and in Lawrence, is that right?
Correct.
What prompted you to apply for the Lawrence Housing Authority?
Because I've been in housing, and so I found that one more interesting than any of the other ones.
Pardon
So
me?
I wanted to try it. I'm sorry, I'm talking too low. I'm a little bit nervous. The reason I applied to that one is because that's the only one that I felt I had something in common with, because I've lived in the housing before.
And you're a licensed practical nurse?
Correct. I've been a nurse for 16 years.
I don't have any further questions, Counselor.
Madam Chair,
Counselor Moran?
yeah, Madam Chair, I think just by her saying that she lived in public housing, that alone should be sufficient enough for me, because she'll look at it, she'll be objective to the needs of the tenants as well. So when you're on a board and you have a person that actually lived in this particular housing, knows the needs of the tenants, she'll be able to bridge between the other members and also the directors of the housing authority. And I think she'll be very helpful in that board, and I want to thank you for applying, Lydia.
Thank you.
And don't get nervous, like Roger said. Remember Roger, last meeting, he was telling
I
everybody.
do remember him saying
I
it.
know it could be very intimidating, but we're not that intimidating.
It's okay.
Madam Chair, I'd like to...
Before you make a motion,
Counselor Toomey?
yeah, I'm thinking about how I'm going to present this.
Okay.
Huh?
I said okay.
I was going to wait until the full council, but Mrs. Bonilla, are you Mrs. Bonilla?
Yes,
Is your husband Melix?
yes.
He is. I'm going to say this up front to you, okay?
Okay.
I have no other way of saying it except for the fact that because of the situation that's in the city today, I cannot in good conscience vote to appoint you. So I will move this up to the full council with no recommendation.
That's okay.
I will not vote no at this level. I'll move it up with a no recommendation, but I want you to understand, it's nothing to do with you. It's what things that can happen, it could happen, along the line someplace, so I would prefer, and I couldn't in good conscience, vote to approve you. So I will be voting no at the full council level. I just want you to understand that.
I understand, Mr.
Okay.
Toomey. It's okay.
And are you making that in form of a
I'm
motion?
making a motion to send it up with no recommendation.
I'll second the motion with discussion, Madam Chair.
Discussion?
Just a quick discussion, because, I mean, Lydia, her own person, it has nothing to do with her ability to perform this duty. Again, it has nothing to do with her, whatever happens on her husband or whatever it is. It's not her personally. She's a good person. She wants to serve the community. She has the will to represent the people of the city of Lawrence. This is a very important board, and I think she brings a lot to the table in terms of knowing how to deal with, from the tenant side, or what the tenant's real needs are, and she'll be able to bring that to this board. I don't think we should be penalizing Lydia for outside of her control, because it has nothing to do with her. This is outside of her control, and I don't think we should be penalizing her for this issue. But I second the motion. I think we should send it up, and we'll debate it at the full council tomorrow.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for
So
your
just be
time.
here tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just be
So,
here tomorrow at 7.
tomorrow at 7 o'clock?
Tomorrow at 7 o'clock?
Thank you.
For the full
Have a good
council
Thank you.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is docket number 24113, appointment to the Human Rights Commission of Ms. Stephanie Diaz Gonzalez. Is Ms. Gonzalez here? She is not. I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to send it up without a recommendation, Madam Chair, to the full council.
All
Second?
those- Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next document is document 24413, the appointment to the Historical Commission of Mr. Frank Giles. Is Mr. Giles here?
Madam Chair, he's not here. He was here before, but I'll send it up to the full council without a recommendation because he's not here.
Motion's been made and
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next document is document 24913, the appointment to the Planning Board of Ms. Jakaira Inoa. Ms. Inoa? Ms. Inoa is also not here. Looking for a motion?
Madam Chair, we got an email from Patrick Blanchett. I believe you were copy on it. She was here on the last meeting, and she already had a commitment for today. This is a reappointment to the board. She's already serving in that capacity from the zoning board, and I'd like to send it out. I'd like to send this one out with the favor recommendation, because she's a reappointment. She's not a new person. This is a person that already has been through us, through this council, this particular council.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next appointment is document 25013, the appointment to the Planning Board of Mr. Antonio Reynoso. Mr. Reynoso, thank you for being here this evening. Your name and address for the record,
My
please.
name is Antonio Reynoso, 201 S Street, apartment 304, Lawrence, Mass.
Thank you for being here this evening. I will open it up to the committee for questions for Mr. Reynoso.
Good evening, Mr. Reynoso.
Good evening.
Mr. Toomey?
You are on the historic committee, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if you're the gentleman I spoke to, but I believe I was on the committee when you were appointed to that
3 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah. And I can remember, it was either you or the other gentleman, I guess there were two Latinos on the Historical Commission, right?
Yeah.
Two Latinos, came up to me and asked me, I asked them how they liked it. They said they loved it, but they had no one to teach them. At that time, that was prior to the time that the Jonas Stunza his name had not come down to the Personnel Committee at the time. Jonas Stunza is the chairman of the committee, right?
Right.
And also David Meehan. And so I said to myself, you know, here's two fellows whose names have not come down to us, who have so much history in their heads about what Lawrence is, that they can pass it on to people who are willing to learn about it. And eventually, I saw Mr. Blanchett, and he finally found his way. They finally found their way down, and they're both on there again. So, did you enjoy your time?
Yeah,
with
I learned a lot. I said when I came in that I need the opportunity, and you guys gave me the opportunity,
Okay.
and I took care of it.
Great. And so, why would you be interested in going to the
Just,
planning board?
I think it's just time to move on. There's some concern about some signs that I see it in the city of Lawrence, that people move out and they just leave the signs in there. So that got my attention to move on to the planning commission.
Are you familiar at all what's required on the planning
I'm,
board?
once again, another learning process for me. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with you, how do I put this? It's kind of an important board in that you could be voting on things that you might not really know about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Because
sir.
you might not have the knowledge right now because of what would be required on the zoning board. Requires reading plans and things of that nature. Well, I'm going to drop that one for the minute. I notice here in your educational thing, you went to New York University?
Yeah.
And you're, what, 2 years there, right? 4
2
semesters?
years. The 2 year law school, criminal law.
Criminal? Mm-hmm. So did you get an associate's degree in it?
No.
With the two, you did not, okay. I don't have any further questions.
President Moran?
Madam Chair, the only thing I can say about Antonio is that he's been involved in many things here in the community. Very well known to a lot of us. Just like everybody else, he gets involved in everything, which that's what you really want from your constituents, to get involved in city business instead of just throwing rocks and going to the radio and talking. He's taking action. He wants to participate in a committee, and you know, that's a credit to you for wanting to do something like that. Us as politicians, we're out there, we hear what's going on in the community, but nobody wants to get involved. At least you're trying, you want to get involved, and I know that 90% of these boards, they don't need experience. 90% of the people that apply for these boards don't have experience in these boards. We would love to have experience, but obviously when you have a non-paid board, when you don't pay them, this is a non-paid board, it's very tough to attract skilled people, skill level set people to want to volunteer for these boards. We would love to have tremendous, I mean, there's a gentleman, they applied for the airport commission. We're lucky to, you know, you get 1 out of 100.
Yeah, I was
Maybe
here.
2 out of 100 that actually have the expertise that you're looking for these boards. And the reason why we're probably getting that experience is because maybe, you know, he's probably retired already and wants to do something different. But most of the time, you don't get this type of experience. And I want to thank you for applying and for still getting involved in the community. And I hope you don't go away. Stay involved because people really we need people like you. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to send up to the full council with a favor recommendation.
I would second that.
Okay, motion's made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Please be here for tomorrow's meeting at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Is there anything else on the tabled items that you would like to visit, or are we all set?
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair? Unless,
Counselor Tomey?
I'll second that.
All second. All those in favor?
aye.
The ayes have it. Have a good night. Thank you.